everybody, I'm Kris White with the American Battlefield Trust, and I'm excited to be back here at the National Civil War Museum in Harrisburg. This is a great facility if you ever have a chance to come up to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Gettysburg, and you can check out one of the best collections of Civil War artifacts in the country. So we encourage you to come up here, check out the museum. They have a great gift shop, but we are behind the scenes with their curator, Kelley. Brett has pulled out some things for us that are just absolutely amazing. And we're going to work our way around this table. And if you haven't checked out our other videos from here, be sure to go over to our YouTube channel, click that subscribe button, that like button, and check out their website as well. So Brett, I have this box in front of me that looks just absolutely ornate. What are we looking at with this collection right here on the side of the table?
This is actually a campaign chest at the Philadelphia Sanitary Fair in July of 1864. This chest was actually donated by the Good Intent Hose Company of Philadelphia to be set aside to so that people of the public could vote for their favorite general or admiral, and the one who got the most votes received this chest. In this instance, it was General Birney who won the chest. David Bell Birney. He was a native of Pennsylvania, so very popular in Philadelphia, and so he got the votes, and so he got the chest as well. And as you can see, it has all sorts of things in here, from hygiene type pieces, straight razors there. There's different bottles for probably cologne or different types of soaps, that sort of thing. There's even a little pitcher here.
I love the picture because it actually has an engraving on the side telling you who gave it to him.
Right, right. And this, let me grab my eyeballs here.
And as you do so, I noticed that if you want to steal anything from General Birney's personal kit here, good luck, because it says Birney 1864, General Birney. So they made sure that they monogrammed as much and engraved as much as they could. And it's really, there are four straight razors in here, which we discussed beforehand, which looks like that's mother of pearl inlay. You know, like how many straight razors do you need? But
yeah, I guess if you're not going to be sharpening them up too often, I guess having a few in reserve isn't too bad. But this particular piece here says, presented to Major General David B. Birney by the Sanitary Fair, July 1864. So this would have been done after he had been declared the winner, and when he received the chest, he would have gotten this with all of the pieces engraved with his name on it. So just a fantastic piece. He actually said after he received this that he thanked the Sanitary Fair and all the people of Philadelphia for presenting him with this case, and he said that he hoped that they would forgive him if he didn't use it in the field because it's so nice, he didn't want to ruin it. So he probably used this for his downtime.
It's in beautiful shape, and David Birney, he served with the 23rd Pennsylvania Infantry, the Birney Zouaves. He goes on to command a division in the brigade, then a division in the 3rd Corps, briefly the 3rd Corps after the wounding of Dan Sickles, and then goes on to serve in the Union 2nd Corps as division commander, and then receives command of the 10th Corps in the Army of the James. Dies of, I believe, pneumonia in October of 1864, near some land that the members of the American Battlefield Trust preserved. So what's neat about this, I think, Brett, is number one, all of this goes together, so it's beautiful. The handles are all perfectly inlaid, so if you want to sit it just on your vanity or wherever, you can put those down. It's a beautiful piece. And then as we were going through this, we noticed you can even keep your personal papers up in this part of it, drop it down. So this is just a really neat piece. And the sanitary fairs and the Christian Commission were really important to the Union war cause. There's a huge sanitary fair in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, and it's a way of raising money for the soldiers as well as the war that's going on. So this is a really interesting piece. And for all the generals coming from Philadelphia, I'm surprised it's David Birney who wins. So that's neat. This is really, really well done. So Brett, as we move across the table, we have two famous pieces I'm going to leave for last. Okay. Let's start with this sword here that's in the middle. Whose sword is this?
This is the sword of General Joseph Kershaw, brigade commander at Gettysburg and many other battles. Everywhere the Army of Northern Virginia was, General Kershaw was there. The sword was made specifically for him in Charleston at the beginning of the war, and then he carried this throughout the war until the very last campaign. During the Appomattox campaign, he was captured, captured by a cavalry detachment, a Union cavalry detachment. A corporal was in charge, and when General Kershaw was captured, he asked to see General Custer. Apparently they were acquaintances, knew each other from years before, and the corporal agreed to it. And the general actually presented this sword to that corporal, which is kind of unheard of, but the corporal had shown him so much courtesy that he wanted him to have it. And there was a time as they were marching back towards General Custer's headquarters, a young lieutenant came up to the corporal and asked who this party was. He explained that it was General Kershaw, that he had just captured them, and the lieutenant wanted to know about the sword, and he demanded it from the corporal. And so he was forced to give it to this lieutenant who had nothing to do with the capture. Later on, General Kershaw asked General Custer to restore the sword to this corporal. And the next day, as General Kershaw was being marched to the rear, the corporal rode by, and hanging from his sword belt was this sword. So kind of a neat story.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And that is unusual, because most of the time when these officers were captured, they would want to turn their accoutrement over to an officer, at least of, if not equal rank,
Right.
at least an officer. And we see this at Gettysburg, other places. And I think we've had this sword out on one of our videos at Antietam, so check that video out. And I believe it's even engraved, or nope, that's just your markings here
that's
internally.
the catalog marking.
Wow, it's a...
But it does have on the blade, it actually has the general's name. It's a little bit faded on the blade. Probably can't see it on camera, but you can see Joseph Kershaw.
And Kershaw, he's one of my favorites to talk about. He is a South Carolina general, goes on to division command. But one of my favorite quotes of the entire Civil War is about General Kershaw. Pierre Gustave Toutant Beauregard at the beginning of the war said, "He's nothing but a militia idiot," and didn't like Kershaw. And he goes on to become one of the highest ranking generals in the Army. He's a lawyer turned soldier, much like many of them in the war. So that's a great story, and it's here in Harrisburg. The sword in front of it is an absolutely beautiful sword. And whose sword is this?
This sword actually belonged to Major General Frank Wheaton. It was presented to him by his father when he had picked up the rank of lieutenant colonel early on in the war. And it's a Tiffany sword. It's got the engraving, the presentation from his father to him as a lieutenant colonel. And it's also a Medusa head pommel, which is very fancy, very ornate. It's a wonderful piece. It's still in fantastic condition.
It is. And that is Tiffany and Company from New York. They produced not only swords, they would produce flags and others. What amazes me is that this sword actually survives a fire in the tent of the general. In 1863, during the winter of 1862-63, he and his wife are staying at a winter encampment north of Fredericksburg, and they lose almost everything in this tent fire. And she says, "I'm done with Army life," and she goes back to Washington. And it's a story that comes from the winter encampment there. That is an absolutely beautiful sword. Obviously, I don't think he carried it very often in the field.
Probably not. It looks like something that you would wear on parade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. Moving from there, Brett, we have three pieces, and two of them are attached to someone named Lincoln, and one is attached to a guy named Davis. So let's start with Davis here. And what are we looking at with this leather bag?
This is a saddle valise, and this belonged to Jefferson Davis. It was made in Augusta, Georgia. It has the maker's marks.
The stamp's right here.
On the end, right there. And this was actually with Jefferson Davis when he was captured in May of 1865. So just a really fantastic piece of Jefferson Davis's gear that he used and you can tell it's been pretty well used. And the fact that it was with him when he was captured, this was something that he took with him when he left Richmond and basically went on the run until he was captured on May 10th, 1865.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you have to think about that. These are things that he's going to have to take with him, he and his family, get out of Dodge as quickly as possible, get out of Richmond, get through North Carolina and into the deeper South.
Right.
So that's a piece that is just in a remarkable shape. And even the leather, it obviously looks worn over 160 odd years, but it's in particularly good shape for it.
Absolutely.
And then the last two pieces we have here are related to Robert Todd Lincoln, the only surviving child of Mary Todd and Abraham Lincoln. So we have two pieces here.
This is a briefcase that was presented to him after he had served time as the Secretary of War. And right here on the front says, to Robert Todd Lincoln from the Congressional Staff Senate. So he was obviously well thought of during his time as Secretary of War, and he was presented with this briefcase. It's got all the brass furniture on it.
It amazes me. It has locks and latches. It's like what we would carry today.
2 locks and the whole thing. I mean, it's really just a wonderful piece.
Yeah, it looks like the front can be latched. You can hold documents in here. It obviously opens up just like a normal briefcase, and it's in remarkable shape. You can see probably on the sides it has been used. But yeah, this is something you'd find in an antique shop, or maybe you'd purchase yourself. So that's a nice piece.
Absolutely.
But also what sticks out is the non-Civil War era pistol that's laying here.
Right. This is a Model 1873 single action army, and this also belonged to Robert Todd Lincoln. During the time that he served as the ambassador to Great Britain, he ordered this from the Colt factory and had it shipped to London. Apparently, he was fond of target practice, that type of thing. So you can see by the wear on the grips that it was fairly well used. He assumed he would probably take it out and shoot targets with it fairly frequently. So it's just a fantastic piece.
And this is what I like. As Brett's pointing this out, you can actually see the wear right here underneath the handle near the trigger guard. It's what we call a single action, where you're not going to pull the trigger and the hammer's going to go back. You have to pull the hammer back, pull the trigger, it'll fall on it. And this is not what we call a cap and ball from the Civil War, where you have black powder and a small cap of mercury, fulminated mercury. This is an encased shell like we think of today.
Right.
The gun that won the West.
Yep. Absolutely.
What was it? Sam Colt, or God made man, and Sam Colt made them equal. That's how they put it.
The peacemaker.
Yep, the peacemaker. So, Brett, this is just a tip of the iceberg for the collection here. We have other things we're going to bring to you. So, really want to thank you for pulling this out. And before we close, what's your estimate of how many artifacts and items you have here in the collection?
Approximately 6,000 three-dimensional artifacts, and approximately between 30 and 35,000 original letters, diaries, documents, and photographs. So it is a very large collection, and it covers everything from uniforms, flags, even wagons, all sorts of weapons, you name it. We got a little bit of everything.
This is the tip of the iceberg, is what you're telling us. So we encourage you to head up here to the National Civil War Museum in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Check out their website. And we're not far from Gettysburg. We're not far from Philadelphia. It's just off the turnpike. So check it out here. And Brett, thank you. Thanks to Andy behind the camera. And thank you for watching and supporting battlefield education and preservation.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. To stay up to date on all the latest and coolest videos, please subscribe to the Trust YouTube channel. Preserve, educate, inspire.